Today's episode of Off the Hook Sailing is brought to you by Cock Flavored Soup Mix. That's right, Cock Flavored Soup Mix with natural and artificial flavors. Made in Jamaica, a Caribbean favorite. Try Cock Flavored Soup Mix, recommended by penitentiaries everywhere.
Hey, it's time for Off the Hook Sailing.
When your time comes, don't postpone it. When others doubt and out, you don't condone it. Truth be told, yourself is your toughest opponent. When your moment comes, grab hold and own it. Never let go, stand tall and hold tight. Overcoming obstacles is the objective in life. Doubters all the night, and after them you shine bright. Cause inside your head, on goes the light. Ignite.
Taydog on Off the Hook Sailing. So today we're going to learn about the Ragged Islands and how we were provisioning during the COVID-19, which a lot of it still pertains to even outside of the COVID-19 restrictions as far as how you provision down in the Ragged Islands. All right, let's get started here. So we're going to head into Duncan Town, which is really the only township down there in the Ragged Islands. This is a nice view, overhead view of the Ragged Island itself. So this is for educational purposes only. You got little Ragged Island down here. Couple little anchorages to the south. You do have a runway here that's about 3,000 feet long. I do have some pictures of us boots on the ground of some of these places here in the Ragged Islands itself, which I will embed into this video. Here's a picture of us just crossing the runway. You can actually see the asphalt's not in bad shape at all. It looks pretty good for a runway out here. Okay. Some of the overhead shots here don't include some of the latest things that they've added here down at the Ragged Islands, especially after Hurricane Irma devastated it in 2017. But they do have now a solar panel farm that is being built about complete with its construction, and they have a trunk line that's running all the way into town. Should provide electricity for the town, and even hopefully post-hurricane, so that would really help them be able to revive a lot faster. Here's a picture of the solar farm now as we drive by. So the runway, the solar panels, and all the way up here on the northern end here, this may not show the picture of it, but they have a nice big government dock. And there is a mail boat run by Captain C. His name is Cephas, really nice gentleman. Here's a picture of Miss C, the mail boat. He and his family actually live here in Duncan Town. And 3 times a month, he will come from Nassau with provisions for cruisers. If you usually, during non-COVID-19 times, you can call a place called Maxines here. Here's Maxine's storefront, and I'll show you more on the inside later in the video. Now, Maxine's contact number was disconnected during the COVID-19 crisis, but normally you can call Maxines and they'll coordinate what kind of groceries that you would like to get put onto that boat, and then they'll bring it down. Of course, there's a transportation fee and stuff like that. Not too bad, really. For each box, it's about $7 or $8 for a fee, and then the charge of the groceries, which are Bahamian prices, a little bit higher. But that's how you can provision. Again, the government dock here on the north tip right here. You can actually anchor your boat, your sailboat out here, and just dinghy from out here somewhere right into the dock, and then I'll show you some pictures of us getting our provisions off the boat, basically. All right, so the boat offloads all of our provisions by pallets, and once it's done doing that, they just call you on a VHF radio, and everybody just starts coming over on their dinghies. They stack those boxes by your names in little sections. You just wait in line. You pay the lady for your transportation fees, maybe give her a tip, and then grab your boxes, load them up in your dinghy, and you're on your way. So day 1 is for provisioning. Day 2, they actually have some barrels for fuel if you bring your dinghy gas cans the next day. Or diesel fuel too. Make sure that you do bring your jerry cans with you as you travel through the Bahamas. You'll need them. This young lady just wanted the shirt off my back. She loves the sailboat story. Cute family. Check them out on YouTube. In the right next to the township here, you'll see a little salt lake. They used to export Epsom salt, I believe, is what I was told, more for soaking, that kind of salt, and now it's really just seasonal. They don't do a lot of that. Here's a closer shot of that salt pond. Again, it's not their main staple in a sense. Really, fishing is what they do down here now. All the locals will take their little skiff right down this channel right here. Here's a better picture of that channel, and in fact, there's a local using it now. They'll take this channel out to all parts unknown and catch all kinds of fish, grouper, snapper, and will load it up on Captain C's boat and 3 times a month he'll take that up north to Nassau for processing. All right, so let's see what else about the Ragged Islands. Very beautiful area here. You have double-breasted key up here, which is a nice anchorage. Here's a nice drone shot, evening shot of double-breasted key with some other boaters. You have Hog Key, which is a very popular area as well. And the locals, if I can get it over here a little closer, the locals actually built a little tiki hut, actually a large tiki hut right here for the cruisers. Here's a supermodel showing you the front of the Hog Key Yacht Club, and Nutty's trying to steal the show. So there's no power to it, but it has picnic tables, and it's a nice social gathering. And it was actually very well used when we were there. It's a very nice thought from the locals. But those were the main keys. You also have Raccoon Key just to the north a little bit. That's a nice anchorage up here as well. So those are the main keys that you'll see down here near the Ragged Islands. Again, they do have a BTC tower for cell coverage, but you know, for us, we had My Island Wi-Fi box. We really didn't start receiving Wi-Fi until we got the double-breasted key here. North of that, we were having trouble getting any kind of Wi-Fi connection. People with the Wi-Fi extenders on top of their masts obviously will get better range. But you do need to have some kind of satellite communications for weather on your way down, heading south out of Georgetown or Long Island to get down here, or for whichever direction you're coming from. If you're out of cell range or whatever, you're going to need some satcoms to get your weather. We had the Iridium Go, and that worked well for us. Okay, so other things about Ragged Island, we will be showing you some pictures of their main road that really extends just north-south from the tip from the government dock all the way down to the airport. So after the COVID-19 restrictions were lifted for a few of the islands here in the Bahamas, one of them being Ragged Island, we were able to get a ride from a local into town and try to get some provisions if Maxines has any on the shelf. So here we are driving, obviously a little accelerated. Now you'll notice that Nutty thought this was a deer. This was actually a goat. They do have a lot of goats on the islands, but if you drive too fast, you might end up here. This is a private cemetery, Wilson's Private Cemetery. But they were very nice to allow a few of us to get a ride into town, because we actually thought we were leaving before the next mail boat or the provisioning boat, and we did not put in an order in time. So they are nice enough to get us into town. We're going to check the shelves and see if there's anything that we might be able to add to our provisions. And then, of course, here we are at the airport. Off the Hook 01, you're cleared for departure. Pretty quick ride. They have a pen for goats, and they do sell goat meat occasionally. They were selling it during the COVID-19s. I think it was $4 or $8 a pound or something. It was basically a whole goat dressed, and that was one way that they could make money. Since everything else was closed down, that's how they were able to, they just fished and they sold goat meat and then worked the boat on the provisions here. Then we'll show you Maxines, which is their only little grocery store. Not much there, but some dry goods. And then there's a little bar right next door called Ponderosa, which is also owned by Captain C, or Cephas. But these folks are very nice. They really like cruisers, and we felt very welcome. The day the COVID-19 restrictions were lifted, we were in town. We had about 7 or 8 sailboats, so 15 people, and they welcomed us with open arms in a sense, and we really enjoyed their company. They were nice people down here in the Ragged Islands. Okay, that's how, I'll show you some pictures again embedded into this video. That's how we survived the COVID-19 down here in the Ragged Islands. Again, if I didn't already cover it, during COVID-19, they didn't, Maxine herself was up in Nassau, so you went online, you established an account, they got a shopper for you. He or she did the grocery shopping, took those groceries to the boat, to Captain C. They loaded it up, and if it needed to stay frozen or whatever, they had those facilities on the boat. And then he would motor his boat all the way down here to Ragged Islands, making a few stops along the way. Of course, they still carry fish. Well, the fish goes up north, and then they carry people and the mail and all the provisions south. Okay, so that's Ragged Islands in a nutshell. The first time we've been into a real bar in 2.5 months. Yay! Nutty, welcome to her home, a bar. Yay! You guys don't know how bad it's been on a boat for 2.5 months. What do you think? This is our first, what would you call this?
Bar stop?
First bar stop. They allowed us on into the place at Ragged Island after they lifted the restrictions, and we finally got a cold one.
Lifted some restrictions.
Lifted some restrictions here at Ragged Island. Isn't that cool? Yeah, Duncan Town. Well, this is our first time to really explore land. I mean, God, we've been on a boat forever. Goodies. This was our first time in the Ragged Islands, and Nutty and I were pleasantly surprised. Beautiful water, beautiful beaches. We really enjoyed it. Now just remember down here when you come through the Mementos, there are limited protection in certain keys, so make sure there's a good weather window. Make sure you have good satellite communications to get your updated weather, and make sure you stay safe out here. But once you get down to the Ragged Islands, there is a way to provision and get your groceries and everything. So we highly recommend the Ragged Islands. It is a favorite stop of ours now. We'll be back next year if we can. And we'd like to thank the Bahamian government for allowing us to stay in their country during the COVID crisis. On a final note, folks, this is Gary. Gary is a hero. He's with the Royal Bahamian Defense Force, and he made sure that every cruise that he had in contact with had his phone number and could be reached. And he periodically reached out to us to make sure we were all safe. This is a true hero. So Gary, thank you very much for your help and your hospitality. Take care and hope to see you again soon. Fan mail, here we go, fan mail. Here's one by Jay Aniston. Dear Taydog, you are the sexiest man alive, and I was just wondering if you would want to be a donor. A donor. Dear Jay Aniston, I appreciate the compliment, but I would like to keep both my kidneys for future use. Signed, Taydog. Happy sales. Okay.